Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Michael, we've got a lot to discuss on today's show. Donald Trump is in Wisconsin right now. Once again, our editorial team at the Midas Touch Network has caught Donald Trump leaving his plane and waving to absolutely no one. That's one of his go-to moves for the propaganda videos. We caught him doing it, and they try to frame it in a way that he's waving to a crowd, but there's quite literally nobody there but his driver. So moments ago when Donald Trump landed in Wisconsin, once again, waving to nobody. Here, play this clip. We'll bring you any breaking news from Wisconsin if there is any. I want to talk about that. But Cohen, I also want to talk about what I think our editorial team also did a very good job calling out Donald Trump for that stunt he was trying to pull in Detroit, where he rented out a purported black church. He filled the church with all of his white MAGA supporters who were there, and then they tried to play it off like he was speaking to the black community. We then were able to capture the images of who was there, and it was a bunch of white MAGA supporters disrespecting the church as well. I mean, wearing hats to the church, and I mean, just look at on their cell phones chanting Trump's name. And if you just take a look, I mean, take a look at this crowd right here. You'll see the people. I'm not making this up. That Kellyanne Conway and Trump's campaign claimed that there were 8,000 people who were there, that 8,000 people from the black community in Detroit showed up. And Cohen, I mean, this is desperate. This is pathetic. Corporate media runs with this and they give him the headlines, but there's a real transformation happening though right now, where I see people taking back their power from the kind of corporate kingmakers, if you will. What do you think about all of this?
Look, what's there really to think about? The fact of the matter is, Donald Trump is not, regardless of what media is trying to tell everybody, that he is beginning to make headway in the black community and so on. And when they start taking a look at the number and they realize that you can't win elections off of fake news. You can't win elections off of, the fact that Fox News and even CNN now are coming up with this horse shit that, Donald Trump is making ground roads in the black community, and there were 8,000 people in this black church and so on. That's not going to, on November, translate into any votes. And so, what they need to do is they need to pull stunts like this, where they go ahead and they rent a church, right? A black evangelical church. And then they're going to claim that it's all filled with churchgoers. Clearly, there's few, if any, that are really there. I mean, look, Donald will tell you, don't trust your lying eyes. Trust what I'm telling you. Well, I think we already have the answer to that. And, Ben, I got to tell you something. You and the guys from Midas Touch, in catching and calling out Von Schitzenpants for his fake, for his fake waves and for his, fake crowd. I do want to tell you that what I have done here today is I have brought in a bunch of our Mea Culpa, Political Beatdown, Midas Touch Network support fans here. And in my dining room, I have about 2,500 people that want to watch us do this thing live. And I'm going to turn around and say, guys, how do you think that Ben and I are doing?
It's a very crowded space there. It looks to be at least, I'm going to go 300,000 people who are in that room there. But the people who were there also were the same people when Trump tries to pull this stunt in other areas. Like, remember when Trump showed up to the Chick-fil-A in Atlanta? And that's Michaela Montgomery there. She's a MAGA operative who basically follows him around city to city. And then when Donald Trump says he wants to do black outreach, you have Michaela Montgomery kind of comes out and she hugs him. And then the wild thing is that the media runs with this thing. And, even when the Chick-fil-A stunt happens, we immediately, provided data that she works for the Republican Party. She works for Charlie Kirk, and she's an operative. By the way, after Trump was at the black church event with no real black people there, he then crossed the street where Charlie Kirk was having a Turning Points event where there was a banner, I kid you not, Michael Cohen, that said "White Boy Summer." And that was the theme, or at least a major theme, of the next speech that Donald Trump gave, was at an event that was themed White Boy Summer. And this wasn't like a parody. This wasn't a joke. If it was, it wouldn't have been funny anyway. But this was very serious. That's a white nationalist meme, the White Boy Summer. And I just want you to think about that the leader of the Republican Party, a convicted felon 34 times over, staged a fake event at a fake black church, or a black church with not the actual congregants there, then crossed the street and then gave a speech at a place where they were promoting White Boy Summer. And the media is like, well, on the one hand, you've got Republicans. On the other hand, you've got like Democrats. And I don't know, it's all very confusing. It's a very divided country we have. Why is it so divided? I mean, it's just some ridiculous stuff. But Cohen, one of the interesting things, though, that you have firsthand knowledge of is that you actually, when you were working for Trump, sorry to bring back these memories right now, but you actually attempted to do authentic outreach in the black
Not
community.
only did I attempt to do it, I succeeded in doing it. I actually succeeded in creating what was called the National Diversity Coalition, which was a coalition that I founded along with Pastor Darrell Scott of Cleveland, Ohio. That's the church that I actually spoke at in Cleveland. It's called the New Spirit Revival Church. Why Darrell fell off the bandwagon thereafter, I get it. It's all about trying to make money. But when you see something like White Boy Summer, and that's an event that von Schitzenpants is going to attend, I have a real problem with this. I have a problem with it because America is not a white Christian nationalist country. I mean, why can't we just get that through our heads? And the fact that there's even a black pastor whose church it probably is that's sitting there and, allowing this bullshit, this usage of his church, this denigration of Christianity in order to promote Trump's lies. Fuck him. Serious. And he's not worth the two-finger salute. That's probably going to go to Charlie Kirk today. In fact, you know what? It's going to go to Charlie Kirk today because this white Christian nationalist group that just constantly keeps promoting Donald Trump in this horseshit, and that they allow this thing to happen in a church for what? So you could not get paid by the Trump campaign? Come on, man. Smarten up. And Charlie Kirk, what the fuck is wrong with you? Charlie, to you, my friend, to you, the two-finger salute. All right? There you go. That's going to Charlie Kirk. Enough already. We all absolutely had enough.
That church, it's called the one. All of the big crowds there in Cohen's apartment right there. I think you can fit probably at least 20,000 people in that small room of yours. At least 50,000 people are applauding you. The church was actually called the 180 Church. It's unclear if the pastor is actually the pastor of that church because it's embroiled in massive litigation. There have been accusations that the pastor is pastor squatting because a lot of the parishioners have left under protest previously. And there's a lot of doctrine, and I won't really get into it here, it could be illegal AF, about immunity that's afforded to churches from courts getting involved in church business. And so there were actually back and forth restraining orders going on with this pastor. So it's a very controversial church embroiled in massive litigation. So of course that would be the site, right, of where this would take place. Cohen, also want to talk about as well some of these posts that Donald Trump is making. He's posted this one with he posts this almost every other day now, of Jesus on his shoulders. This is Trump reposting this angel account. So Trump is posting images like this. And I mean, it just, again, like, you don't even have to, it doesn't have to be a religious thing to say how blasphemous, this is.
I mean, I'm certain that if somehow, right, some way Jesus had come down from the heavens within which to revisit Earth, to revisit, right, his followers. I'm pretty sure that one of the last people on his stop, if not the last, would be von Schitzenpants. Let me be very clear about that. This guy doesn't have a religious bone in his body. He doesn't go to church. He doesn't pray. The closest that he's come is his $69 Trumpy Bible, plain and simple. Terrible. The whole thing is just so wrong. I mean, it really is. It's so wrong on so many levels.
So he posts that, then he posts this, the preamble of the Constitution, hugging him, and he's like humping the Constitution. Here, take a look at this photo. Again, this is something that Donald Trump is posting, and he's posting dozens of memes like this. I'm not going to try to gross out our audience any more than showing it. I'm just trying to show you that this is his behavior. This is what he is reposting, this photo. And, and I thought that it's worth reflecting that he does this photo right there of the Constitution's preamble.
Hey Ben, can you do me a favor, Salty? Can you go back to that other one with Jesus touching Donald's shoulders and so on for a quick sec? Yeah, that one. See, I have a little bit of a different one, which I want to show you. So if you'll come back to me, I think this is really more like it.
It's a
I mean,
that's probably more accurate.
That's the one that I have. I don't know which one where you got yours, but that's the one that that every time they put up the one that every time that they put up the one that you just showed, I put this up and follow. I think you got your picture all wrong.
I love it. Here's the preamble of the Constitution, though, just so we all can see what it actually says. I think it's, if Donald Trump wants to post those, no offense to clowns, clownish fascist photographs of himself hugging the Constitution, AI, weird stuff like that. Let's talk about what the preamble says. It says, "We the people." First off, let's be clear. We the people of the United States, not I, Donald Trump, not me. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, meaning to be together, not to divide us like Donald Trump wants to, establish justice, not a convicted felon like Donald Trump, ensure domestic tranquility, not lead insurrections to overthrow free and fair elections like Donald Trump, to provide for the common defense, not what Donald Trump wants to do by attacking our allies and attacking Americans, promote the general welfare, not what Donald Trump did when COVID was coming our way and said, like a miracle, it was all going to go away, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Donald Trump could care less about posterity. All he cares about is me. Do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. And I'll prove it to you. Take a look at this next post that Donald Trump made right here. He reposts this Father's Day message from this account, Boomoo, that says, "Happy Father's Day to you, sir. We will do it again and more. Hashtag MAGA for the felon." Hashtag MAGA for the felon. Donald Trump is reposting, Michael Cohen, the leader of the Republican Party is posting hashtag MAGA for the felon. And corporate media, I'm not talking about right-wing media. That's propaganda, ridiculous stuff. But corporate media wants to tell us that someone who, just to recap, rented out a black church and brought white MAGA supporters into it and pretended it was a black church, then gave a speech at some place with a banner up that says White Boy Summer, who then posted himself getting hugged by the Constitution, Jesus on his shoulders, and hashtag MAGA for the felon.
Look, how many times am I going to have to say the same thing before it finally sinks into people's heads? I've told you all along. I said it in 2019 when I testified before the House Oversight Committee. That was the one that I did live. And I told you that Donald Trump is a racist, right? He's a bigot. He's a misogynist. He's sexist. He's xenophobic. He's homophobic. He's Islamophobic. He's anti-Semitic. I don't know what else one person has to do in order to ensure that people continue to repeat it over and over and over, because that's what he does. He uses the media. He's very clever at media usage. Why? Because the media is so hungry for his antics. I can't understand. It's like watching Saturday Night Live, right? Or reality television 24/7. It's like, I was out the other night and I was talking to a friend of mine who actually happens to be a Republican, cannot stand Trump, but is a Republican. And he turned around and he said to me, you know, I can't imagine what a day would look like if Donald wasn't preoccupying the news. So just imagine, like today, that he wasn't preoccupying the news with all the lies that he tells. And the fucking media, right? Serious. Whether it's like the New York Post, that garbage ragtag horse shit. I was speaking with Michael Steele this morning. He was on MSNBC Morning Joe. I love Morning Joe's show. But what bothered me is that Joe and Mika were talking about the New York Post, which is also, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, as is, I believe it's the Wall Street Journal. And there was an article in it talking about Trump. And it is so apparent that what the story is an absolute and a complete lie. It's just a complete lie. And my thought was, well, if it's a complete lie and everybody knows that it's a lie, why are you talking about it? Why are you promoting it? Which then gives people hey, you know what? Let me go check out and see what it is that they're talking about. Let me go see what it is that these two papers are saying. No, I have never seen Morning Joe talking about like the front cover of the National Enquirer or Newsmax. Why are they then doing it with the Post? Why are they legitimizing? Why are they legitimizing the New York Post or the other article? Did anybody else see what I'm talking about this morning on this? And I'm not kidding. I'm telling you, this was on this morning with Michael Steele responding to it. And I texted him and I said to him, what are you doing? Why are you guys even acknowledging the existence of this garbage paper, these two garbage papers that are run by Rupert Murdoch, whose sole goal, well, it's not even him anymore. Now it's one of his kids, right? I think, who is it? Lachlan is running the show now. All they want to do is continue to sell more ad space. It's all about profit. There's no journalistic integrity in any of that. There was a lie that was promoted, and they were regurgitating it.
Well, I'll take a slightly different perspective on it. If you're going to cover it, I think you have to explain the counterpoint, though, which is Why are they doing it? And they're doing it because they know that it's a big problem for Donald Trump, that Trump has real, actual cognitive issues. So if they attack President Biden, the kind of paradigm they create is a heads I win, tails you lose, or in the case of Biden, tails you cheat, right? So they attack Biden all the time. They go, Biden's got dementia, Biden's delusional, Biden, all of these things, right? Except when the American people then see President Biden. Then, Michael Cohen, what do they say? When people can actually see a speech, whether it's the State of the Union, whether it's the debate, whatever, then they go, oh, it was rigged. Biden got the questions in advance. Or more recently, what they've been saying is Biden's on steroids, Biden's on drugs, Biden's on Provigil.
No, they
right?
said that Biden was on cocaine, which
He's
is what
on
gave
Adderall.
him that he was on cocaine that gave him the lift. First of all, can you think of anything more disrespectful than to turn around and to say, not only because of his son and the addiction that his son had, but the fact that he is 80 years old, he's the president of the United States, he does not have a drug problem. And the fact that he gets up there and that he was traveling to the G7 and he was going from one place to the other, trying to resolve issues that are plaguing not just this country, but the whole world. And while he's doing this, while all of this is going on, he's still created the best economy in the world with the highest stock market that this country has ever had, with the lowest unemployment that this country has ever seen, that he's still working on the CHIPS Act and infrastructure and so on. And he's, was successful in getting more money now to Ukraine in order to fight this important war against Russia. And he's working with Netanyahu and Israel in order to create a ceasefire and to create some peace and stability in the Middle East. And the best that the Trump assholes can do is to turn around and to say that the guy is on drugs. Seriously? And even us, Ben, repeating it, it's so offensive to me, just as the New York Post is offensive to me, just as the fact that the Wall Street Journal put out the same article just by a different writer. This is wrong. You would not give the National Enquirer the attention that we're giving to these articles. And I find it disgraceful. There's no more journalistic integrity, at least with those papers anyway.
Well, you think about the masterful job that President Biden's done with actually expanding NATO membership, bringing together the G7, ensuring that Ukraine has the weapons that they need. You're seeing some major momentum right now with Ukraine in their fight against the unlawful invasion by Russia, now that they actually have the weapons that they had been asking for. President Biden had one of the most successful G7 meetings in Italy that's ever taken place. But what the Murdoch properties did is there was a skydiver who had landed as part of the kind of pomp and circumstance of the ceremony. President Biden, in his cordial way, was looking at the skydiver and, was telling the skydiver, really good work. The skydiver was off frame, and President Biden, and I've met him before. He's a very sociable guy. He chats you up, he talks, and eventually he talks so long sometimes to people because he's a very engaging person that even his Secret Service have to go, all right, President, let's go. We gotta go. Stop talking to people. The roads are shut down. It's his nature to have long conversations with people until it's kind of his detail team or people around him say, let's go. So what the New York Post and the Murdoch properties did is they cut the frame to act like President Biden was delusional and having an imaginary conversation. And that's what they ran with, a big cover on the New York Post that says President Biden embarrasses the United States at the G7. And again, it's just utterly false. And they claim to be, the news. But what this really is, Cohen, and it's interesting, as I think about the trial that you testified in, where the National Enquirer was like the was like the G League, compared to where like the D team, right? Compared to what Trump has now. He went from the National Enquirer doing these false stories to hundreds of billions of dollars with the Murdochs, with Sinclair, with all of this right-wing media, who I guess want to be part of a future oligarchy and an authoritarian regime, just push this stuff relentlessly every single day. And it's just inconsistent with the data about and what's taking place. Because
Ben,
what
Ben, as an example, it's not even when it comes to the New York Post that it's every day. It's every hour they're putting something out. Approximately 1 hour ago, the New York Post put it on their digital. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The New York Post put up on its digital at 3:40 this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, an article by this fucking putz, Ryan King, and it's under the politics section. But here's the headline of this article: Trump, Biden dead, even nationally, with first presidential debate just 9 days away, according to a poll. Can you imagine? And this is an NPR PBS News Marist poll survey out on Tuesday, with the presumptive Republican nominee receiving a 1-point uptick in support from the previous poll in late May. The incumbent Democrat backing dropped by a single point. So it has Biden at 49, Trump at 49, and then 2% undecided. Can you imagine? Can you imagine this? I got to ask our brigaders here. What else does Trump have to do? What else does Trump have to say? What other asinine act does this guy and his sycophantic followers have to do before people turn around and say, that's it. Now I've had it. That drew the straw. First of all, I don't believe this poll. I don't believe any of these polls. There you go. Any of these polls, I don't believe any of them at all. And the reason why, all right, this nonsense about Trump gaining momentum with black males, black women. Let me be clear about this, okay? Black women will never, ever vote for Trump. That's why he has to pay them, to show up like that woman that's on the payroll from the what's her name again here?
Michaela Montgomery.
There you go, Michaela Montgomery. All right, she's a political consultant and she's a hack. All right, that's why Trump has to pay her, because black women see through Trump's shit. Now, do I think that black men do? Actually, you're right. You know what? Janet, you're right there. Most women see through Trump's shit. All right. For whatever the reason is, guys think it's funny. I mean, it's almost like you're being fucking entertained 24/7. When was the last time, you really were entertained by, whether it was Dan Rather or Morley Safer, right? Or any of those guys? The answer is you're not. You're not. You watch the news in the past. You watch the news for the news. Now they're not watching it for news. They're watching it seriously for entertainment purpose. It's like watching The Housewives. It's like watching, Below Deck or one of these other reality shows. That's what it is. Are guys going to fall for it at the ballot box? No, but they do give it oxygen. That's the big problem. Now, of course, I want to be clear about something. I am not talking about, not for a second, about the MAGA morons, that 30% of the electorate that's out there, or the 60% of the Republican Party. But I want to do my famous numbers again, because it's extremely important. Donald Trump, it's already been shown, 30% or more of the Republican Party will not vote for him now that he is a convicted felon. Not just a convicted felon 1 count, but 34 counts. They will not vote for him. They will vote for anybody else, whether it's an RFK or a write-in like a Nikki Haley or what have you. That's 30% of the Republican Party. No Democrat's going to vote for him, right? That you could bet your bottom dollar on. So it leaves the other 1/3 of the independent. But in order for him to make up that 30% loss, that means that he has to take 60% of the independent, which is never going to happen. Even at best, he gets 50%. He loses by 20. Plain and simple. The numbers don't lie. That's the whole thing. And when you start seeing these sort of this NPR Marist poll, I call bullshit.
You know, one way to be able to call it like that is the New York Post and all the right-wing media. What they've been pushing for very long is that Donald Trump is crushing in the polls, right? That's been the narrative that they've been pushing. Big crowds lie, big polls lie. So pull that up one more time. Trump, Biden dead even nationally with first presidential debate just 9 days away poll. And they try to frame that, Michael Cohen, as a positive for Donald Trump. I just find that to be very interesting, given all of the other things that they've been pushing, where they've been saying it's Trump is crushing. This isn't even close, and we've been saying that's not the case. Look, we live in unfortunately, a fairly divided country, and there is, to your point, about 30 to 35% of the country who Donald Trump very much represents, to a T. From being a con artist to being a sociopath to his views towards women to his views towards other minorities to
being a
his
sexual assaulter. Yeah.
And that's actually the quality that 30 to 35% of our country like about him. Hashtag MAGA for felon. They like his criminality and they see themselves in that behavior. That's a sad realization to make. And in the past, the Republican Party has always flirted with that group, right? Whether it was kind of the Tea Party thing, there was, whether, George W. Bush, Ronald Reagan kind of appealing to that group, but they would at least still stop the overt white boy summer, type of stuff, which maybe you say is worse, that they concealed it versus put it out in the open, which allowed it to kind of grow and metastasize the way it did. But as we kind of reflect on it, I think the good news is, though, that there is about 65%.
I mean, look at this Trump supporter. I mean,
that's 30% of America. I mean,
that is
30% of America,
and 70% of Trump's MAGA army, right there. The guys with the 3 teeth, the 4 brain cells. I mean, there's something just fundamentally wrong. Yes, you have to laugh because it's sad. It's pathetic. First and foremost, let me be very clear about something. I do not understand how a single woman in this country, regardless of her race, religion, her creed, her color, regardless of any of her, anything that, group that she falls within, how could a woman possibly vote for a man who takes credit for interfering with her reproductive right decision making? They're not just doing your reproductive right decision making, but they're also jeopardizing your health. I mean, we all have talked about this with DNIs. We've talked about it now with IVF that they want. They just thank God that, the Supreme Court ruled against, that MAGA mania as it related to mifepristone. I don't understand what people are thinking. And then you have the men who are connected to the women, whether it's their spouse, whether it's their daughters, whether it's their nieces, whether it's their friends' daughters, whoever, whether it's their colleagues. How do you accept somebody patting themselves on the diaper and turning around and saying things like, I take credit, I'm the one that overturned 50-year stare decisis? How do you accept somebody who's willing to go that far. And it's the same Supreme Court now that's looking at cases to overturn the right of same-sex marriage, to overturn interracial marriage. This Supreme Court is out of control, and worse than the Supreme Court being out of control is the guy that ended up putting the last three people on.
Michael Cohen, you've got a new YouTube channel. It's called The Michael Cohen Show. Everybody should go and check.
It's at The Michael Cohen Show on YouTube.
Yeah, at The Michael Cohen Show, partnered with the Midas Touch Network. We want to try to grow that very quickly to 100,000 subscribers. So I know you're going to be posting daily videos there.
By the way,
as
subscription is free.
Free subscription at the Michael Cohen Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that. You did your first hot take today on that channel. You're going to be updating that daily. So we hear you loud and clear, Beatdown Brigaders. We are increasing.
Hey, Sophie, can we post a link to make it a little easy so that our Brigaders can actually see how that works?
Yeah, we'll put it in the chat as well. And we'll get that. And just we've got a lot more show to discuss. I hear this Wisconsin event by Trump's just completely going nutso right now. We'll talk about that and more. Let's take a quick break.
Have you ever wished that you had whiter and a brighter smile? Well, before you visit a dentist, you should know that their whitening treatments, they're very expensive. And you know what? It's not just the price. You also have to book the appointment, schedule time away from work or family to sit in a dentist's office chair while undergoing this procedure. It's a hassle. Fortunately, now you can try Smile Actives at home or anywhere, anytime. Smile Actives offers a safe and an affordable alternative to those expensive whitening procedures. You see, I've had past experience with these whitening agents, and I got to tell you, I hated it. It causes these zingers afterwards. It's really uncomfortable. And I'm a big coffee drinker, and so I hate to say it. Your teeth get stained. But that's why it's so important to use Smile Actives, because it brings you a bright smile, and a bright smile makes a good impression. Smile Actives makes a teeth whitening gel that can simply be added to your toothpaste every time that you brush your teeth. So there's no change in your routine, there's no extra time, and there's no messy strips, trays, or lights. Simply add Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel to your regular toothpaste. It's been formulated with polyclean technology to boost stain removal and deliver active whitening ingredients into teeth's grooves and crannies so that you get better whitening. 97% of Smile Actives users in a clinical trial reported up to 6 shades whiter on average. Listen to what I just said, up to 6 shades whiter on average, and all within 30 days. I mean, that's the kind of trial that I like. So what are you waiting for? Start getting comments on your whiter, brighter smile in just days. Visit smileactives.com/beat today to receive a special buy one, get one free offer with delivery plus free shipping and handling. That's smileactives.com/beat. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
As you know, I'm a video editor, podcaster, and co-founder of the Midas Touch Network. We're all doing a lot. Living a more heart-healthy life fuels everything you do. Introducing 3-in-1 blood pressure support plus CoQ10 from SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the grapeseed extract in SuperBeets is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. New SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced supports healthy CoQ10 level, an important nutrient for heart health. SuperBeets Heart Chews are incredibly delicious and so much better than any alternative supplements out there. I take my SuperBeets Heart Chews each morning, and it's really kickstarted my morning routine. After taking my SuperBeets Heart Chews, I feel like I have more energy and I'm ready to take on the day. CoQ10 generates 95% of the cellular energy your heart needs, but it can decline with age, stress, and statin use. SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced is effective and contains clinically researched ingredients. From SuperBeets, the #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended beet brand for cardiovascular health support. Find out how you can get a free 30-day supply on bundles of new SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced and save 15% for a limited time, only by going to SuperBeets Radio, promo code BEAT. That's super, BEETS, radio.com, promo code BEAT, and that promo code is BEAT.
Welcome back. Political Beatdown in action. Cohen, did you want to talk about some of those pro-democracy sponsors? You seemed
Yes, I do. We
I
always
know
like to talk about those pro-democracy sponsors. I happen to like my smile. I use it. I told you that I drink a lot of coffee, usually, especially at night. Believe it or not, I drink a lot of coffee at night before I go to bed. And then right before I go, I do another round with with the whitening, and I wake up in the morning looking good, feeling good.
Cohen, New York's highest court, which is called the Court of Appeals, because New York loves to make it extra confusing for law students who have to try to remember all the different court systems across the country. The trial court in New York is called the New York Supreme Court. The highest court is the Court of Appeals. So Donald Trump appealed the gag order in the Manhattan criminal case where he was convicted on 34 separate felony counts. First to the appellate division, which is like the intermediate court of appeals. He lost there. He then brought it to the highest court, the Court of Appeals in New York. And the highest court said, basically, why are you even bringing this to us? This does not raise substantial constitutional questions. Like, get out of here. Like, look, you're a convicted felon. You're a criminal defendant. This is not a controversial issue that there would be a gag order that prevents you from attacking the family members of court staff and the judge, from attacking the jury and attacking witnesses. That's what's called being a criminal defendant. That's just what happens. It's not a violation of the First Amendment. It says, appeal dismissed without cost by the court sua sponte, which, by the way, it means don't even submit us extra things. Like, we're just doing this on our own. Go away. Like, they didn't even have to look at any filings. Just don't bring this here.
And let's not forget that Trump can, he can seek leave to appeal. It's again, what's Donald's entire MO? Delay. Not this time. Not this time.
Yeah, appeal dismissed without cost by the court sua sponte upon the ground that no substantial constitutional question is directly involved. I mean, Cohen, you're you are a protected person under the existing gag order. What do you make of it? I mean, look, it's just not a normal thing for a criminal defendant, now a convicted felon, to behave the way he does. He is free. By the way, I mean, he still talks about you all the time. He thinks that it's like, he thinks that just because he calls you like the lawyer, that gets around it. I think that should get addressed. I hope that gets addressed by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, because there were multiple times I thought where he violated the gag order during the trial.
Five more times he violated the gag order. 3 of them were about me. And there is a motion which is going to be heard, holding him again in contempt of that gag order. Let me be clear about something. The problem with Donald is he's very myopic. He's kind of like a donkey, and you have a carrot. Remember, like the old, what was it? Like Our Gang, right? The Little Rascals, and they had a donkey, and to get the donkey to move, they put a carrot in front of its nose that he can never eat, and it got him to start moving. That's the problem. Donald can't see past the tip of his own nose. Why? He needs to go now on July 11th. He's going for sentencing on 34 guilty charges. 34 counts, guilt. On top of that, he's now violated the court order 10 times, to which he was fined $10,000. Now, let's not all pretend for a split second that $10,000 means anything to him. Even if it was $100,000, he wouldn't care, because he'd find a MAGA moron to pay it, or a whole group of them to pay it. So he's not thinking about the money. It's what's the repercussion to him for those violations? Well, so far, Merchan has been so Solomonian. I'm not talking about that. Right now, it's by law, it's $1,000 max for a violation. They hit him with the 10,000. But when it comes time to sentencing, including the fact that the entire PSR, the pre-sentence report meeting with the probation office lasted under 25 minutes, which is impossible. Impossible. Just taking down your personal information takes at least 20 minutes to do it. It's much more in depth than you would think. What's going to end up happening? I believe it's sentencing. This is where Judge Merchan is going to say, Mr. Trump, you were found guilty by a jury of your peers on 34 counts. The maximum is technically 4 years per count. Nevertheless, because all of the counts revolve around one specific scenario, that it will run consecutive. And as a result, the most that he could potentially sentence him would be to 4 years. However, as the judge, he is permitted to do anything as it relates. The discretion that judges have is enormous. And Judge Merchan, if Trump acted different, I believe that he would suspend the sentence. He would do something based upon what we're dealing with here. A former president, yada, yada. But not only has he shown zero contrition, he has actually gone out of his way to attack the judge, to attack the jury, to attack the judge's daughter, to attack witnesses, to attack the Department of Justice, the entire process. And this cannot stand, because if you allow somebody, whether it's a former president or you and I, Ben, to attack the system to the extent that he is doing, with the ferocity and the use of members of Congress, how does the system contain itself? How does it move forward? How does it advance? How do we, as a society, as a democratic republic, move forward? And the answer is you cannot.
Yeah, his behavior is an affront to our entire system of law and order. And the fact that you have the Republican Party that countenances that and promotes it, and then you even had those Republican attorney generals from 24 states. They wanted to petition to be amici and file an amicus brief to support Donald Trump's claim that Trump should be able to attack law enforcement by lying that they were trying to assassinate him, which is just false. And you have Republican attorney generals, the top law enforcement officers in the state, who's saying that Donald Trump should be able to attack the DOJ and FBI. It just goes to show you that the entire Republican Party is completely gone to rot at this point because of MAGA. There used to be some issues that we could have, important, intelligent discussions with. We could agree to disagree on certain things, agree to have civil discussions. It's just all kind of MAGA rot right now. And speaking of that, I'm not going to go through all the stuff that Donald Trump's been doing in Wisconsin, but I'll just show you what went down moments ago. And this is what you and I were talking about, Cohen. Like, this is Donald Trump's cognitive issues. And this isn't just like a moment of the speech. I watched the full speeches of these. I haven't gotten to watch the Wisconsin full speech yet, but I will after this. But when you watch his full speeches, they're filled with him having imaginary conversations with fictional cannibals like Hannibal Lecter. It's filled with him talking about how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. It's very, very odd, but this is just what happened moments ago. Let's play this clip.
Joe Biden's granting mass thinking. He's going to formally grant
Yeah, I don't know. It's he's not even saying it's a lot of that. We'll do a hot take after this, or I'll do a hot take on this YouTube channel. You did a more fulsome hot take as well on the denial of Trump's gag order appeal. That's on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
So in the description right now, we have the link to your YouTube. So if anybody wants to go there, subscribe and follow the Cohen YouTube on a daily basis, you should do that now. So Cohen, a few things to point out as well. Do you see the story about there's this mysterious company that claims to be from North Carolina, but no one in North Carolina has seen this company registered in North Carolina, but they're showing up in Donald Trump's financial reports, and they've received like $3 million. And when you go to the website of this company, it's like there's like nothing there. No one's answering reporters' questions, but it's received about over $3 million from the Trump campaign. It just always goes right back into this pattern, right, Cohen? Like when it comes to Trump,
always about the Benjamins, for God's sakes. You know, I wish that there was a way for me to go on Fox News with a story like that and then just basically say to them, if you want to give Donald money, give him money. If you want to give it to him, just give it to whoever you want. But to have somebody create a fake company so that they can steal money that you're giving to a campaign and you don't have a problem with that, I don't know. I mean, you must be raking in the dough like it's falling out of the sky. I don't understand it. Who wants to be lied to and actually clap for the guy who's lying to him? I don't get it. I don't get it.
And then we also have seen the Trump media stock tanking over the past few days as well. I mean, look, there was news that in the first quarter of this year, Trump media lost $327 million. That's according to their own financials. Earned $750,000 in revenue. There was a re-audit of last year's financials where they lost $58 million and earned around $4 million in revenue on a $58 million loss. So they've gone from losing $58 million in 1 year to losing $327 million in 1 quarter and only earning $750,000 in revenue. And again, you just go back to all of the...
Just throw this in, please, for our brigaders. During the best market in America's history.
It's a great point. Right. Every day there are new records being set. And look, I don't think that we should judge our economy by the stock market, but we sure did when Donald Trump was in office.
Yeah.
Right? Every day when Trump was in office, we heard if the stock market went up that day, even a little bit, look how powerful it is. The economy is booming. The stock market right now is like double what it was when Trump was in office, like double.
My economy is doing better than any other time in America's history. Thanks to me, you're all going to be able to retire early, at least a few years earlier. The guy's fucking nuts. He's really nuts.
And you just think about the moves that President Biden's made, how President Biden has made a commitment to fighting climate change while also facilitating more domestic drilling than under Trump. President Biden's basically broken OPEC. So the OPEC cartel controlled in the Middle East tried to jack up the prices to over $100 a barrel. Then President Biden started releasing strategic reserves to bring the price down. So Biden sold high, bought low, made billions of dollars. People say it's like the greatest oil trade in history and has brought down the gas prices significantly by breaking OPEC. At the same time, President Biden has led a coalition with Ukraine to fight back against Russia's unlawful invasion, right? Russia claimed to be the second most powerful army in the world. They're the second most powerful army right now in Ukraine. I mean, just think about that task, and just think about all of the things that President Biden's just doing on a day-to-day basis at a domestic level. I mean, everything from addressing some of the problems that existed with student loans and how the bad credit more than anything, to end the loans themselves. We're just preventing Americans from going about their lives. How President Biden is addressing people's credit issues with medical debt and exploitive collection tactics related to medical debt. How there's been over 1 million claims by veterans under the PACT Act. These veterans would not have gotten life-saving care for being near burn pits, but for President Biden pushing through the PACT Act at a time where the MAGA Republicans were fist bumping each other and celebrating, trying to block the PACT Act. President Biden has expanded the Affordable Care Act significantly. He's reduced prescription drug prices. I mean, in every
he got rid of a whole bunch of student debt. You know, I mean, just to name a few. I
want everybody to subscribe.
But I want you to keep going. Just keep going, because people have to understand just how much Joe Biden has actually accomplished.
How about this? Over 40,000 infrastructure projects right now that taking place because the Infrastructure Act. How about the CHIPS Act, revitalizing the semiconductor industry here in the United States? I could go on and on. In fact, I will go on and on and on, and I'll do that in other hot takes. But for now, Michael Cohen, I want to remind everyone about your new YouTube channel. It's at the Michael Cohen Show. The link is in the description right now. So make sure you go over there and watch the daily hot takes that Cohen does. I want to try to get Cohen to 100,000 subscribers right away. So make sure you go there and subscribe. Check out Mea Culpa Blue, not the red one, the blue one. Subscribe to that right now. Subscribe to Political Beatdown on audio as well. And go to store.MeidasTouch.com for the best pro-democracy gear, 100% union made, 100% made in the USA, and patreon.com/political beatdown. Michael Cohen and I host a number of exclusive Zoom meetings there. We'll do another one soon. It supports the show.
We should do one the beginning next week.
Early next week. So if you want to meet Michael Cohen on a Zoom, go to patreon.com/political beatdown right now.
By the way, Ben, before we end up signing off, I just think it's only fair the Brigaders, to be balanced. Donald has been, doing certain things also and building a whole bunch of stuff as well, including a very full diaper. All right. Just so that people know.
Well, when Cohen takes that phone out, when Cohen takes the phone out, and doesn't vet the graphics in the group chat, I always get a little worried what he's going to post there. But that's why we call him Wild Card Cohen. Thank you, everybody, for watching Political Beatdown. Shout out to the Brigaders and shout out to the Midas Mighty. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Poop, there it is.